Welcome to Shri M, the founder of Satsang Foundation. We welcome you, Dr. Ajay Kumar Singh, former DGP, Karnataka. One of the finest and most upright officers of Karnataka, whom we are very proud of. He is also known for his modesty and simplicity. We welcome Srimati Tejaswini Anantakumar, Chairman and co-founder of Adamya Chetana Foundation and Vice President of Bharatiya Janata Party, Karnataka. If there is one phrase in which one could sum up Adamya Chetana, it is selfless service, synonymous for this kind of a genuinely service activity. We would also like to welcome Mr. Kiran Kumar, former chairman of ISRO, well known for his work on the Chandrayaan-1 and Mangalyaan space mission. Welcome to all the dignitaries and all the people who have assembled here this evening. ಈಗ ತಾನೇ ನಾವು ಶ್ರೀ ಎಂ ಅವರ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಸತ್ಸಂಗ್ ಫೌಂಡೇಶನ್ನ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಚರಣೆಗಳನ್ನು ದೃಶ್ಯ ಪ್ರಸ್ತುತಿ ನೋಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಹೀಗೆ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ, ವೈದ್ಯಕೀಯ, ಆರೋಗ್ಯ, ಪರಿಸರ, ಯೋಗ ಮತ್ತು ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಸೇವೆ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸುತ್ತಿದೆ ಸತ್ಸಂಗ್ ಫೌಂಡೇಶನ್. ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಚಟುವಟಿಕೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಒಂದೇ ಗುರಿ, ಸಮಾಜ ಸೇವೆ, ಮತ್ತು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲರನ್ನೂ ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ತಂದು ಈ ಕೆಲಸಗಳೇ ದಾರಿದೀಪವಾಗುವಂತೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಅವಕಾಶ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿದೆ ಸತ್ಸಂಗ್ ಫೌಂಡೇಶನ್ ಶ್ರೀ ಎಂ ಮುಖಾಂತರ. ಎಲ್ಲಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮಿಗಿಲಾಗಿ ಮಾನವೀಯತೆ, ಏಕತೆ, ಸರ್ವಧರ್ಮ ಸಾಮರಸ್ಯ ಮತ್ತು ಮಾನವ ಜನ್ಮದ ಪವಿತ್ರತಾ ಮತ್ತು ಸಮಾನತೆ ಈ ಮಹತ್ವದ ವಿಷಯಗಳು ಜನಸಾಮಾನ್ಯರಿಗೆ ಅರಿವು ಮೂಡಿಸಿ ಅವುಗಳನ್ನೇ ಆದರ್ಶಗಳೆಂದು ತಮ್ಮ ನಿತ್ಯ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಳವಡಿಸಿಕೊಂಡು ಸಂತೋಷವಾಗಿ ಹಾಗೂ ಅರ್ಥಪೂರ್ಣವಾಗಿ ಬದುಕುವ ದಾರಿ ತೋರಿಸಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿದೆ ಸತ್ಸಂಗ್ ಫೌಂಡೇಶನ್. We have just watched an audiovisual presentation, albeit brief yet detailed, about the various activities of the foundation, which stretches from education, health, medical facilities to environment and yoga, with each one of them crucial to both the uplift of society and evolving at the individual level. All these activities as much sum up the persona of Shri M, a social reformer, educationist, author, global speaker, and above all, a spiritual teacher, accessible to all. Accessibility is as much the key word here. Born as Mumtaz Ali and hailing from Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala, his life story, which unfolded even as a young boy, is one of single-minded dedication and discipline which continues even today. At 19, a most impressionable age in fact, the Himalayas beckoned him. Thus began his journey in search of a true master. Maheshwarnath Babaji, a senior disciple of Sri Guru Babaji, took him under his wing and initiated him into the Nath tradition. The 3 years spent in the Himalayas with Maheshwarnath Babaji was transformation to him and transformational to society also subsequently. Shri M returned to the societal world as instructed by Maheshwarnath Babaji, leading a quiet life even as he prepared himself to teach his learning and share about his experiences in the Himalayas. After his master's passing, Shri M received the signal to begin his teaching mission. The Satsang Foundation came into being, spearheading many an activity. Shri M initiated projects which were holistic in approach and impacted people positively at the grassroots level. The Satsang Foundation is a meeting point for spiritual speakers of all persuasions. Shri M is the Chancellor of the Maulana Azad National Urdu University and faculty of the Indian Institute of Technology, New Delhi. He is a recipient of the Padma Bhushan. The Satsang Foundation was at the forefront also. One has to mention the pandemic, although one doesn't want to remind anyone about it, during the pandemic times, right from the beginning till it tapered down, the Satsang Foundation was at the forefront of every kind of activity that could help people, right from medicines, rations and groceries, and up to medical facilities, everything was provided. This one activity itself is enough to show what the direction and the focus and the goal of the foundation is. We would now ask Shri Mata to give us an invocatory song, before which an announcement, please. We request you all to please switch off your cell phones. Do not take pictures or videos. All of the proceedings of this evening will be subsequently, almost immediately, available to you to watch it. And there is a help desk outside, books, and the digital media versions of the activities of the foundation are available there. Please do go and look it up. They will be more than happy to help you. Plenty of details are available, including the sale of books, like I said. And now we will have an invocation by Shri Mata. A few lines about Shri Mata. She's a young vocalist, and she's a ward of Shri Vidushi M.S. Sheela. M.S. Sheela is a Carnatic vocalist who is not only well known in Karnataka, but she is one of the foremost musicians who has helped Carnatic music go into the cultural map of the country itself. Shri Mata is a high-grade B+ artist of Akashvani, All India Radio, and she is also qualified. She holds a master degree in music. Yet she has dedicated, right from this young age, her life to music. She's a well-known performer, and she's also a music teacher.
गजाननं भूतगणादिसेवितं कपित्थजम्बूफलसारभक्षितम् उमासुतं शोकविनाशकारणम् उमासुतं शोकविनाशकारणम् नमामि विघ्नेश्वर पादपङ्कजम् नमामि विघ्नेश्वर पादपङ्कजम् सिद्धिविनायकं सेवेऽहम् सिद्धिविनायकं सेवेऽहं वरं सिद्धिविनायकं सेवेऽहं वरं सिद्धिविनायकं सेवेऽहं वरं सिद्धिविनायकं सेवेऽहं वरं सिद्धिविनायकं सेवेऽहम् बुद्धिदेवी वरं भोगिकङ्कणकरम् बुद्धिदेवी वरं भोगिकङ्कणकरं बुद्धिदेवी वरं भोगिकङ्कणकरं शुद्धकळेबरं सोमकलाधरं शुद्धकळेबरं सोमकलाधरं सिद्धिविनायकं सेवेऽहं वरं सिद्धिविनायकं सेवेऽहं मोदकहस्तं मूषिकवाहं मुनिहृद्गेहं मोहनिदानं मोदकहस्तं मूषिकवाहं मुनिहृद्गेहं मोहनिदानं वेदसमूहं बोधप्रवाहं वेदसमूहं बोधप्रवाहं श्रितनिवासं श्रितहरिकेशं श्रितनिवासं श्रितहरिकेशं सिद्धिविनायकं सेवेऽहं वरं सिद्धिविनायकं सेवेऽहम्
ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಶ್ರೀಮಾತಾ ಅವರೇ. ಅವ್ರ ಹಾಡನ್ನು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಒಂದು ನೆನಪು ಬಂತು. ಶ್ರೀಯಮ್ಮ ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ಕಂಠ ತುಂಬ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ. ಇನ್ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಒನ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಲಿಸನ್ ಟು ದ ಸೋಲ್ಫುಲ್ ರೆಂಡರಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಭಜನ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಟು ನೋ ವಾಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್. ಮತ್ತು ಸರಳಜೀವಿ ಅವರು ಮದನಪಲ್ಲಿನಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಅವರು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಆಸಕ್ತಿ ಏನು ಅಂದರೆ, he uses the paint and the brush during his leisure time and they are beautiful paintings. ನೋಡಬೇಕು, ನನ್ನ ಅನುಭವ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬೇರೆಯವ್ರು ಹೇಳಿರೋ ಮಾತು ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು ಕೂಡ ನನ್ನ ಅನುಭವನೂ ಅದೇ. ಸೊ ಇವಾಗ ಲೆಟ್ us begin, make an auspicious beginning with the lighting of the lamp. Shri M, please request you to come on stage. Please bring him. Shri Dr. Ajay Kumar Singh, ತೇಜಸ್ವಿನಿ ಅವರು ಮತ್ತು ಕಿರಣ್ ರಾವ್ ಅವರು. ಅದು ಅವರ ಪ್ರವಚನದ ಮುಂಚಿತವಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಬುಕ್ ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಇದೆ. ಒನ್ ಅನದರ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಸೆಗ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಟುಡೇಸ್ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್. ಇದು ಅನುವಾದ, ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷಿಗೆ ಅನುವಾದ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ಇದನ್ನು ಹಾಳೆಗಳೆಲ್ಲೋ ಮಿಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ. the name of the book. Anyway, we invite Dr. Ajay Kumar Singh also on stage for the book release of the Kannada version written by Shri M. I don't know where I misplaced the page. Book release, yeah. Right, I got what the translated ನೇಮ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಬುಕ್ ಇಸ್. ಒಂದು ವಿಷಯ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಅನುವಾದ ಸತ್ಸಂಗ್ ಫೌಂಡೇಶನ್ ಶ್ರೀ ಎಂ ಬರೆದಿರೋದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಅದರ ಯಾವುದೇ ಭಾಷೆಯ ಸೊಗಡು ಉಳಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡಿದೆ. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ದಿ ಎಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ವಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಬೀನ್ ರಿಟನ್. ಎರಡು ಭಾಷೆಯದು ಸೊಗಡು ಉಳಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಓದಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಒರಿಜಿನಲ್ ಭಾಷೆನಲ್ಲಿ ಓದಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಬರೋದೇ ಬೇಡ ಅದನ್ನು ಅಂತ. ಲಿಟಲ್ ಗೈಡ್ ಟು ಗ್ರೇಟರ್ ಗ್ಲೋರಿ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪಿನೆಸ್, ದಿಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಬೀನ್ ಬ್ರಾಟ್ ಔಟ್ ಇನ್ ಕನ್ನಡ. ಅದರ ಹೆಸರು ಏನು ಅಂದರೆ ಅಗಾಧ ವೈಭವ ಮತ್ತು ಸಂತಸತ ಜೀವನಕ್ಕೆ ಕಿರು ಮಾರ್ಗದರ್ಶಿ ಅಂತ. ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಗೈಡ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಲಿವ್ ಅ ಮೀನಿಂಗ್ಫುಲ್ ಲೈಫ್, ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಸ್ ಆರ್ ಸೀಕಿಂಗ್ ಎನಿವೇ. ಈಗ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಂದ ಮಾಲಾರ್ಪಣೆ. ಈಶಾವಾಸ್ಯ ಉಪನಿಷತ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನನಗೆ ಹೇಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅರ್ಹತೆ ಇಲ್ಲದನ್ನು ಕೇವಲ 18 ಪದ್ಯಗಳದು, ಆದರೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಡಗಿರುವ ಸತ್ಯ ಮಹತ್ವದ್ದು ಅವ್ರ ಬಾಯಿಂದಲೇ ಕೇಳೋಣ ಇವಾಗ. ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಸ್ವಿಚ್ ಆಫ್ ಯುವರ್ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ಸ್, ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಅಟ್ ದಿ ಎಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಯು that there are no pranams, please.
Sound? Can you hear me at that? Tonight. Om Brahmanandam Paramasugadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dandvatitam Gaganasadarsham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Satgurum Tam Namami. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. So, I'm extremely sorry that I cannot speak in Kannada. I mean, I can understand, but such subjects, it is difficult for me to handle. I'm very sorry. The topic of today's talk is the Ishavasya Upanishad. I'm very happy to see that there are many young people here today. When I see people like me, I'm not so excited. But when you see young people, then you see hope. Because the future belongs to the young. Now, before we speak of the Upanishads, they have put something out there, let go and rejoice. It's actually an English translation of the Sanskrit from the Ishavasya Upanishad, Tena tyaktena bhunjita, let go and rejoice. So we'll come to that. So when youngsters are there, I'm sure they've come for some enjoyment. Apart from what they enjoy usually in the evenings. So my work today, my job, which Babaji has given me, is to bring all those ancient texts which were taught in forest academies, in caves, in ashramas, to the marketplace. Because today times have changed. Everybody cannot leave the world and go away and sit in a cave. And please remember that the Bhagavad Gita was preached in the middle of the battlefield. Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetre. So, in this life for us is in a way like a Kurukshetra. Right? We have to face many problems, we have to face many obstacles, we have to fight negative forces, we need to move forward. And the ancient teachings of the Upanishad first help you to clear yourself. If you don't clear yourself, you cannot clear the world. You cannot change the world. You can't do one thing and then say that no, it should be like this to the outside. Not possible. This is to be remembered, especially the young. We will certainly have some samvad, question answer, not argument, but samvad, question answer in the last day evening. Because some of the questions you have might get answered in the next 2 days. Whatever is left behind, we can discuss as time permits on the last day. Now many of you must have seen YouTube. This is iTube, not YouTube. So please remember that I specifically request you not to ask me questions about the Yeti. Many people, young people have seen Ranveer's program, which is very popular among the youth. So they come up with the first question, have you seen an Yeti? So please, let's not get into that. So, the Ishavasya Upanishad, which we are going to deal with today, tomorrow and after, is one of the smaller Upanishads. The smallest, of course, is Mandukya. This one also has 22 or 23 verses, I think. I like to start and do originally instead of by hearting. So I'm looking how many verses are there. How many verses does Ishavasya Upanishad? 18. Did your homework? Good. So 18 verses only, while Mandukya has only 12 verses. Are you sure 18? Okay. So, first let me describe what is this thing called Upanishad. We will do the Upanishad, don't worry about it. If I move around a little bit, this way, that way. Upanishad is also called Vedanta. Why is it called Vedanta? Because it comes at the end of the portion, Samhita portions of the Vedas. You know, of course. If you don't know, there are young people who don't know, or why? Older people also who don't know. The ancient wisdom of the Vedas was scattered around the experience of various rishis, and it was not properly coordinated or composed or put in order. Then came the great Vyasa, Vedavyas. He's called Vedavyasa because he compiled these truths which were scattered around, experiences of hundreds of rishis, and he put them together into 4. Rig, Yajur, Sama and Atharva. These are the 4 And they were classified only at the time of Vyasa, not before that. Now, in fact, the word Vyasa means a compiler in Sanskrit. Now, of these four Vedas, people have a wrong conception that Vedas means only the hymns, Samhita. Not true. The Vedas have Samhita portion first. The Gayatri comes from the Rig Veda Samhita, for instance. Then they have the Brahmanas. The Brahmana portions are the ceremonial portions which deal with how to perform your daily life, how to use what is in the Samhita for particular purposes. These are the Brahmanas, so they also go elaborately into the rituals and details. Then comes a portion called the Aranyaka. Now, from the word you know that Aranyaka means Aranya is a forest. We had a nice retreat for 2-3 days this time, deep in the forest in Pench. I just came back from there. Pench is 1.5 hours from Nagpur. So, the Aranyakas were taught in the forest, in the Aranyas. Why forest? Because you know how it is. Today if you go to educational institutes like IITs or Carnegie University in the US and so on, you find that the buildings are there, but they're set in forests, in greenery, trees. All these help to move forward in your quest for knowledge. So when you have some land, don't start first by cutting the trees. Add more trees. Just have enough for you to stay. So what was taught in the Aranyakas, in the Aranyas by the rishis, to the students who sat together, close quarters, and discussed the matter, are called the Aranyakas. That which came from the Aranya. Now if you look closely, many of the Aranyakas are also Upanishads. So the last portions of the Aranyakas are usually the body of literature is Upanishad. Because the Upanishads come at the end of the other portions of the Vedas, they are called Vedanta, end of the Vedas. Well, Adi Shankara said that it also means that it is that which is studied when understood. It is the end of knowledge, then nothing more to be studied, nothing more to be understood. Could be. I can't challenge Adi Shankara. So, now, these are the Upanishads. How many Upanishads? There are a number of Upanishads. There are Yoga Upanishads, which are more than 22 in number. All the things about yoga you find even in the Yoga Sutras. If you go back and look, the source is there in the Yoga Upanishads. And the Yoga Upanishads come from the Krishna Yajurveda. The Shukla Yajurveda. So you can see how old the yogic science is. Now, so while the Upanishad comes at the end of the Vedas, it teaches the essence and wisdom of all the other portions which are there. So it is I would say the jewel of the Vedic knowledge will be found in the Upanishad. So among the many Upanishads, there are 11 Upanishads which are called the principal Upanishads. And out of these 11 also comes Ishavasya Upanishad. They are called principal also because they were probably the older Upanishads. More than that, they have been translated and commented upon by all the acharyas from Shankara onwards. That means Advaita, Vishishta Advaita, Dvaita, and Vallabha's line and everything. Everybody has tried at least to translate some of the principal Upanishads. Shankara has done all. So, they are principal Upanishads. That much is enough. Now, what is an Upanishad? We need this background before we go. Today, tomorrow, day after. What is an Upanishad? Is it one word? Very often in Sanskrit, one word consists of 2-3 syllables put together. Here, it is upa, ni, and shad. Upa, you know the word upa? We know upavasa. People say, I'm doing upavasa today. Upavasa actually means traveling upwards. Vasa, what is vasa? Living in a place. Upa is higher, up. So upa, it need not necessarily mean fasting. That's what I'm trying to say. It is to get rid of the feeling that the body is all that exists and move forward. So fasting helps, of course. So upa means to move close. Not close, but close. Closer to something. Here, closer to the truth. Closer to the understanding of... There's a very young person also here, I think. I can hear someone. So, closer to the truth means closer to what is the subject matter of the Upanishad. So this is the meaning of upa, close. It also, upa means these were things that were taught at close quarters, between the teacher and the taught, sitting together in a quiet place in the hermitage and learning. Therefore, there were no loudspeakers and no internet, of course. I don't know about the internet. Sometimes when you look at the Gita, it looks like Sanjay is looking at a TV. But anyway, so at least there is no microphone and loudspeaker. So the rishis literally whispered the truth to the student. Not because they didn't want to give it to anybody else. It's because it was so sacred, they didn't want a mistake to be committed in what is being said. So at close, sitting close together, upa, they taught that which will take you close to the truth. This sitting together is Upanishad. And it is also because it's sometimes called rahasya, secret. Why? Because it was not broadcast. It was discussed in earnest between two people. It's basically, you will find most Upanishads, plenty of samvad, dialogues. Right. So we'll leave upa there. We won't go more into the upa part. Then we have the last, I'm leaving the center knee for the time being, although the knees are very important, especially as you go older. But the last part, shad. Shad means to sit. Sit means physically to sit, and also that the mind has to sit down. You can sit here now, saying, oh, it's only 1 hour, it will be over. And then your mind can be in the parking lot, somewhere else. Right? That is not sitting, according to the Upanishad. Shad, sit means sit physically, your mind also will sit down. Now you're all sitting, when somebody gets up, I know that you're going off, attention is gone. So this sitting, mind and body, is called shad. So, listening to the wisdom, sitting close, not physically close, okay, and carefully listening to what is being said, which allows the mind to settle down. This is Upanishad. Now, so we have done upa and we have done shad. Please sit down. So, now we have a center knee. What is knee? Not Knee. Knee. The Sanskrit word ni is the root from which the Hindi word niche comes from, down. So Upanishad together put is sitting close to each other. The speaker and the listener are in one way equal, but when they sit, the attitude of the listener should be that I don't know, so I need to learn, and this is called sitting down. Down. Not physical, but sitting down. Which means, the Upanishad says, he who knows, knows not, and he who knows not, knows. Which means, Upanishad is an enquiry. We have a important scientist sitting here. How can you inquire if you start with the premise that I know everything? You cannot. If you want to know, you need to sit with an empty mind, saying, I don't know, let me understand. All great discoveries have been done by people who said, I don't know, let me figure out, let me find out. So that attitude of receiving is what is indicated by ni. If you need to even physically pour something into from one vessel to another, suppose I can't keep the vessel into which I pour here. Is this possible? It has to be here. So it indicates the attitude of the listener, that he sits with the humility that I do not know, he or she, that I do not know, let me figure out. This is where humility comes in from. I have sat for years in front of Babaji saying, in the beginning I used to say, I know, he used to say, shut up. So this is important. So many things come out of this attitude. So this together would make Upanishad. Before I go further, I want to tell you about a student who went to learn from a teacher, from a master, and said, I want to know. He went to a Zen master. Said, I want to know what is Satori, the spiritual experience. And the master said, have a cup of tea. So he thought, I'm asking something very serious. This guy says, have a cup of tea. Anyway, Zen masters are famous. If they don't like you, they may kick you out. So he sat down. So he brought tea. We can't do this here. He brought tea and he kept the tea on a table, a cup on the table, and started pouring the tea. So this guy was watching. The cup became full. He still continued pouring. So this guy said, now this master is a foolish guy. He's pouring tea into the cup which is already full. So he said, sir, the cup is overflowing. So the master said to him, your cup is overflowing. How can I give you Zen? If you put it, that will also come out, right? So this is the meaning of the Upanishad. Sit with a clean, fresh mind and listen, not my talk, Upanishad, as if you're listening for the first time. Then it clicks. It's called Shruti because Shruti cannot be written, read, memorized and then cerebrated upon. Shruti is that which is heard, and as soon as you hear it, clicks. For that, the background required is a clean mind that does not know. Sometimes too much physical proximity with a spiritual teacher is also dangerous. Because then you cannot keep your mind clear and open to listen to what is being said, because it is clouded by the prejudices that you have built up all these years. So every time you see a good spiritual teacher, think you are seeing him for the first time. Do not carry the past. Then that interferes with the knowledge of at least for the Upanishad. So, having said this, I am going to start. In 3 days, we will certainly do the Upanishad. Don't worry about it. Why I am saying this is, you might think, oh, he's not even gone to the first part of the sloka. Now, the invocation of the Ishavasya Upanishad. It's this beautiful mantra. It's one of the most important mantras in the Vedic tradition. And this is Purnam Mada, Purnamidam, Purnat Purnamaduchyate, Purnasya Purnamataya, Purnamevavashishyate. This is the beginning, invocation. And let me also tell you that this Upanishad, Ishavasya, comes from the Yajurveda, the second Veda. The Yajurveda has about 40 or so parts. The last one is the Ishavasya Upanishad. Now, this comes from the Samhita, which is known as the Vajasaniya school of the Yajurveda. Vajasaniya school of the Yajurveda, technical purpose. So Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnam, you must have heard it many places. They recite it very often. But have we thought what it means? Such a tremendous statement. It's a statement which when understood, you have understood the Upanishads actually, though it's an invocation. The key word here is Purna. What is Purna? Completeness, fullness, fulfillment, total. That which cannot be reduced, which is always full. This is Purna. Now the Upanishad invocation says Purnamada, which means the source from which this entire universe has come, that being or that whatever thing from which this whole existence has come about, is by its very nature, intrinsic nature, Purna, complete. Okay? We can say, I understand that, but what does it mean to me? Because I am not. Maybe the origin is Purna, we don't know. Maybe the origin of the universe is the supreme, full. But what is this to me? Because I am always finding that I am not I'm inadequate. I am not full. I'm empty. I want to fill it. The whole activity that goes on in this world is human beings' attempt to fill this thing called emptiness. And here says the Upanishad, Purnamada, so what? What is it to do with me? Now the Upanishad strikes the hammer blow in the next sentence by saying, Purnamidam. This is also Purna. It has come from Purna and it continues to be Purna here. But what is my experience personally? I'm not Purna. Even the desire to have a family and expand and let your genes endlessly go on is an indication that I'm not full. I want to expand and maybe then I will be full. I don't have a job, maybe I'll expand, then I'll be full. This whole desire to fulfill shows that we are not full, but the Upanishad says Purnamidam, this is also full. So it's not a contradiction, it's a statement of fact. In fact, the entire movement of life is this attempt to fulfill. I'm single, and I think, well, if I have a wife, I won't go into that subject. But what I mean to say is, at every step, everything that we do, we think this is not going to make, but still, there is a tendency built in to go towards fullness. In the mind, because deep down in the subconscious mind, it is aware that there is some fullness around. And all the activity I do is trying to bring that about. I'm not saying you should stop or like it's not going to work. Because the nature of the body and the mind for Prakriti is to work. Even when you're sleeping, it's going on. Your blood is circulating, you're breathing, everything is going on. But to understand that the source is complete, Purna, and therefore this which I am now is also Purna, which I don't seem to find. The process of trying to discover that Purna in me is the Upanishad. And it also says, Purnasya Purnamataya, from that Purna, this Purna has come. Purnameva avashishyate, but that always remains Purna. Not a physical experience for us. If I give something to somebody, he gets it or she gets it, but I am less. But here is something which, even if completely given, remains the same. The only thing that is close to what is being said in Purnamada, in physics, is Einstein's theory, where energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be changed from one form to another. Here, the Upanishad says, the Purnata is always there. You think in the wrong direction, change your thoughts, move forward, and you will find that you are also, in essence, that Purna. Or, with humility, we can say, part of that Purna. Also, this is also possible. Because suddenly, if somebody, I am Purna, it's a very dangerous thing, for instance, to say, Aham Brahmasmi. Very dangerous. Then you think the body is the Brahman, and the whole thing goes wonky. So, this is the great sloka, Purnameva avashishyate. So still Purnata remains. Please keep this in mind. Try to figure out where it is, how it is. And it is in you and me, not some separated somewhere. Then begins the Upanishad. The first sloka of the Upanishad, Ishavasya Upanishad. Ishavasyamidam sarvam. I got a pair of glasses, I thought, suppose. See, no. Anyway, I can see. Ishavasyamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjita ma kritha kasya svidhanam. This is the first sloka of the Ishavasya Upanishad. Which means, all this, whatever moves in this moving world, is enveloped, is pervaded by the Supreme Purna, by the reality, by the Supreme Reality. Therefore, find your enjoyment in giving up, letting go. Do not covet what belongs to others. Why? Because whose wealth is this anyway? It all belongs to one thing. It's not separate. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to say that God laughs twice. One is when two brothers take a big tape and go into the land, measure it and say, this belongs to you and this belongs to me. Big laugh. Who does it belong to? And when the doctor definitely says, I will save you from death, then also a big laugh, because nobody knows. They are good to try, but really nobody knows. So, Ishavashyam idam sarvam, that Supreme Being, Isha. That Supreme Being, all-pervading, called Isha, pervades everything here. Huh? Isha, Vashyam, pervades, idam, here, sarvam, everything. And it is idam, not tomorrow after death. It's right now as you are now. So, Isha Vashyam, that Supreme Being, Isha, pervades everything here. Yatkincha jagatyam jagat. This world is called Jagat. Why is it called Jagat? Because it is Jagatyam. It's called Jagat because it is Jagatyam, which means moves. Eternal movement is this world. I am small, I want to become big. I am little, I am very thin, I want to be a muscle man. I'm too fat, I have to become thin. And so on and so forth. You know how it is. I have one car, I need three. I have one wife. No, sorry, we'll stop. So this wanting to have more and more and more, this movement, in fact, the whole of civilization and evolution is this movement. I'm not saying you should stop it, it won't stop, it will go on. You're looking at it, that's all. This entire movement, the Sanskrit word for movement is jagatyam, that which moves. Therefore, this is called Jagat. Upanishad says that supreme reality, Isha, pervades everything here, not there, here, in all the world which moves, and therefore is called Jagat. Therefore, to find the essence, you don't have to reach anywhere, but rather understand this fact that you are part of this Purna, and therefore let go and rejoice. You don't get caught on to this. Think that movement is going to bring about happiness and peace. It won't. You know, there's a big cyclone, hurricane. It takes everything with it as it goes. But there is an eye of the cyclone, which is a vacuum. Whatever it sucks, it goes into that. That is quiet. In the same way, in the midst of this moving world called Jagat, there is a quietness which is in yourself, which is none other than the Purna from which you have come. Understanding this is the essence of the Upanishad. Ma gridha kasya sudhanam. So whose is all this anyway? It belongs to the Supreme Being, because the Supreme Being pervades everywhere. So doesn't it belong to me? Yes, you are part of that. So it belongs to you too. So, to understand the Ishavasya Upanishad, first step, at least as a hypothesis, understand that there is an all-pervading Supreme Being. Let it be a hypothesis. Okay, Supreme Being, it is the essence of Purna, and it is here and not somewhere else. And when you understand this, you can let go of all the impressions that you have carried all your years in your mind. Throw the burden away and rejoice, because the essence is you and me, not the memories that we carry. This let go is not giving up. There are people who have given up everything, but their minds have not been able to let go of it. They sit somewhere and they're always thinking, oh, I gave this to this guy. They might even ask you for a plaque to be donated by so-and-so. That is let go means there's nothing to really hold on to, because everything is one. Can we have that attitude? And coming to daily life, can we live without holding these things in our minds? Suppose one of you has punched me in the nose some 25 years ago. Nobody did it, I'm just saying. Somebody did it, but that fellow is not here. Suppose you punched me in my nose. Now the fact is, just look at it factually. Idam, we are talking about here, not later. Look at it factually. After 10 minutes or half an hour, is there the punch there? Or is it only in your memory? Does it exist as a physical fact? Yeah, if I had plastic surgery, it might last for, but in fact, sometimes the guy who punched may have died and gone 10 years ago. You will not let him go. Why? It will be in my head, in my mind, like a festering wound. He slapped me, I have to slap him back. 25 years, a festering wound, you're carrying a burden. Can you let go of that? The moment even in the mind you let go of that, you can rejoice. Just throw it out of the window. So when you go to sleep at night, do you realize that sleep is a small death? In fact, it's a rehearsal for the final rest. It's a small... And actually, that's why when you wake up, you have to brush your teeth and wash your face and put moisturizer or whatever you guys do. Because you are like a dead body when you wake up. And if you leave it like that for 10 days, you will smell like a dead body. So, oh, somebody put off all the lights. Okay, so I'm okay. So, can we get rid of that image that we carry? See, please understand that it really does not exist. It is done and it is over and it is gone. I'm carrying it in my mind. Oh, he slapped me, I have to slap back. If you can only throw it out of the window when you go to sleep and say, tomorrow when I wake up, it's a new day, you're free then to understand what is meant by the supreme all-pervading reality. So it's not just a philosophical statement. It's a practical thing which you can do. The other way is, if somebody has harmed you, if the guy is still alive, go and shake. He might think you're gone mad, but go shake hands. Done. It's over. Huh? Don't worry about it too much. And wish good for the person. Very soon you'll be fine. So let go and rejoice. After all, no one can take anything away from you because everything is pervaded by the Supreme Being. This is the beginning of the Ishavasya Upanishad. Now, the second sloka. Kurvanneveha karmani jijivisheta sadam satah sama evam tvai nanyate tosti na karma lipyate. Another beautiful statement. Means kurvanneveha karmani jijivisheta satam samaha. Samaha. This is why this Upanishad was a favorite of Gandhiji. Because it said work, don't give up work. The Upanishad says, performing all that you have to do in this world. It is not advising you, when you say, let go and rejoice, it's not saying sell everything and go to the forest. No. Let go here while you are still here. And it says, kurvanneveha karmani, you can do your works, because anyway you can't stop working. Something or the other will happen. Jiji visheta shatam sama. For 100 years you can do your work. Evam tvai nanya. There is no other way for a man to live, for a human being to live, other than this. Because you cannot stop working. Work, even for 100 years. But keep in mind what was said in the first sloka. That the Isha, Supreme Being, pervades everything here. Let go and rejoice. Keeping this in mind, you can put in 100 years of work. No karma will touch you. You will not be polluted by karma. If you have this attitude of the first sloka in your heart, then you can work for 100 years. But the effect of the karma will not stick. Na karma lipyate nare. The karma of the deed does not adhere to you. Isn't it a liberating statement? And I think it's something which can be practiced every day. It's not something to be kept for after retirement. Actually, nobody retires. You retire from a job, but you're doing something else. So, the Upanishad, this is what I want to tell you, because there are many youngsters here. This is not for retired people only, of course. It's also for retired people like me. But I'm not retired. Actually, I don't know when I will get retirement. You have no idea about my itinerary that goes on. But especially the young. Please remember, it's meant for you. Live in this world. Do all your work. Do not get caught up in little things. Let go. Rejoice. But there is a difference. The modern world, rejoice is somehow connected to the spirit that comes in the bottle. Can we rejoice without that? After all, the essence of all that intoxication and enjoyment is in you. Because you are none other than the Supreme, at least a spark of the Supreme Isha. So can we go in, because otherwise your senses and your mind are dulled. You cannot, you see, to understand the Upanishad, you must have a clear mind. A mind doesn't become clear and sharp if it is under the influence of any foreign substance. And definitely you can party between yourselves and between you and me, because we all are the essence of enjoyment. You don't need any help from, we will discuss that on the last day. I'm sure some people might want to discuss. But, So, kurvanneveha karmani jijivisheta shatam samaha evam tvai nanyate tohusti na karma lipyate. Let me tell you, I have nothing, I'm not enemy of people who have a drink. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that. Yeah, I know some people who drink, but who are very good people, better than people who don't drink. That's also there. Yeah, I've seen such people. It's not, what I'm trying to say is when you touch the reality, when you see the inner essence, the need for depending on outer substances disappears. This is what I'm trying to say. And it is with all of us. You don't need millions of rupees to get drunk within. Just a change of attitude. Right? You don't have to buy the best, whatever, champagne from France. No drain on your bank account. Okay. So, the third sloka of the Ishavasya Upanishad. I'm going to go slow because there will be nothing left if I go fast. Asurya nama te loka andhena tamasa vrita tamste pratyabhigachanti eke atmajano atmahano jana, which means they enter into worlds of enveloping, blinding darkness. Who? After death, they go. Who? Who are the slayers of the self. Atmahano janaha. What is the meaning of slayers of the self? Which means those who do not understand the inner self. And because of their ignorance of the Isha, all-pervading Isha, who is also in the essence of your own consciousness, who live that way are here labeled as slayers of the self. Not the, otherwise, if you slay the self, you'll say, I'll become unselfish. This is not the meaning here. Yeah, while unselfishness is a great thing, this what it means here, slayers Atmahano jana means those who do not believe that there is an Atman which is part of the Purna. And by their beliefs they are slaying the self. When you do that, says the Upanishad, when the Atma leaves the body, it enters into worlds of enveloping darkness. Because you know how death is? The fear of death is not really the fear of the unknown. Some parts, yes, but it's not really so much the fear of the unknown. It is the fear of leaving everything that I consider to be dear to me. This is the problem. Suppose somebody says to you that when you die, I am the controller of the universe, so when you die, I'm not, somebody saying that. When you die, you can take all your things with you. Your wife, your kids, your house, your cars. You can take everything. Nobody is afraid of death. It is, the fear mainly is because I have to leave these things. I have to leave my aloo bonda. I have to, it was very nice today. I have to, so there is this fear. I have to leave my things which I have fitted into and made into my life, which is not true. Life need not be only that. But people who do not understand, who do not believe that there is an Atman in us which is free of all this, which is a spark of the Supreme Being. Such people, when they leave the body, because of the fear and the pain of leaving all their belongings and going away, enter into worlds of enveloping darkness. That's why among the Buddhists, for instance, even in ancient times, we had this system here, but now, at the end of this Upanishad, there is a chanting which is chanted when people are dying. But we have forgotten it, also because nobody knows what is being chanted. Who knows Sanskrit? So, somebody is chanting, that's okay. But the Buddhists, especially the Mahayanists, maintain this. It's called Bardo. The state after leaving the body and not having gone beyond, in between. So when people die, they sit down and talk to them. They chant, then they talk to them, saying, look, you're only going from one place to another. You're not finishing off. Life continues. You're moving from one plane or realm to another plane. Have no fear. There are people waiting at the other side to look after you. They keep chanting this. So that people go without fear, without getting enveloped in this great darkness of uncertainty and losing everything. That is the fear. So says the Upanishad. Then it comes to the understanding of the Supreme Isha, which was mentioned in the first sloka as all-pervading and which is undefinable. So the next 3 or 4 slokas describe the Supreme Being, not the body, that which is inside the body, which is part of the all-pervading Isha. It describes it in contradictory terms because it's trying to define the undefinable. We cannot actually define it. Now how to? So they are using contradictory words. It's not to make you confused. So the next word, Anejat ekam manaso javiyo naina deva apnuvan purvamarshat tad dhavato anyanatyeti tishtat tasmin napo matarisva dadhati. That inner spirit, that inner Atman, which is none other than the all-pervading Supreme Being, it is unmoving, which means everything moves around it, but it is unmoving. Yet, it is swifter than all the things that move. Now this is a contradiction. How can something be unmoving and yet be swifter than all the things that move? So we are not talking about a physical object or a padartha. We are talking about the spirit, the supreme reality. It says it is unmoving, but it moves swifter than the mind. Have you seen anything that moves swifter than the mind? The mind is the swiftest. 1 second it is here, the next second it is there. In fact, somebody wrote a whole novel based on that stream of consciousness. James Joyce wrote Ulysses. That time it was a great experiment in literature and he got the Nobel Prize. You should read Ulysses. You can't read more than 2 chapters, I'm telling you. I tried, I gave up. Stream of consciousness. Which means every second it moves, the mind. The Upanishad says, Anejat ekam manaso javiyo. It's quiet and motionless, and yet it is swifter than the mind, which means the mind which tries to catch it through its swift movements of thought cannot catch it. When it is silenced, then perhaps there is a chance of coming upon it. Which means through intellectual exercise or through exercising the mind, you cannot touch it. Why? Because it moves swifter than your capacity to catch it. Therefore, when you stopped catching, perhaps you understand what it is. You know, we'll come to that. There is some more coming. And Naina Deva Apnuvan Purvamarshat. The senses do not reach it. Devam here means the senses. The 5 senses are the devas. Of course, in the Lord of all senses is Indra. Even the devas cannot go as fast as to reach that which we are talking about, which means the sense organs cannot find it. There is another Upanishad, the Keno Upanishad, at the end of which there is a beautiful story to illustrate this. The Supreme Being finds that the devas have become arrogant and have arrogated all power to themselves and think that they can do anything. So the Supreme Brahman decides to give a test. So the Supreme Brahman appears as an yaksha. Nobody knows what an yaksha means actually. Yakshagana, yaksha means a spirit, that's what it means. So he appears. Now the devas, the great powers of nature, Agni, Vayu, Indra, they're all standing there. They don't know what is this yaksha. They know some presence is there. So Agni, Agni is the most powerful of the devas. We have been invoking Agni for 1,000 years or more. Agni is also called Jata Vedas, who knows all the Vedas. Agni says, let me go and find out. So bravely he goes. Before he asks the Yaksha, who are you? Yaksha asks him, who are you? He says, I am Agni, I am Jata Vedas. I can burn down the whole earth. Okay. The Yaksha pulls a blade of grass, Trina, from the ground, holds it and says, burn this. Agni tries all his tricks, cannot burn it. So he comes back. He says, I don't know who this Yaksha is. I've never had this experience. The blade of grass which he showed is not burning. Okay. Vayu says, wait, I'll go. So Vayu goes. And they say, who are you? He said, I am Vayu, the Lord of air, of wind, of hurricane, of cyclones, of breath. I can blow anything away from the face of the earth. Same blade of grass, he says, blow this. Vayu huffs and puffs. No way he can make slight movement in the blade of grass. So he goes back. He says, I can't understand what this yaksha is about. Indra says, I am the lord of the sense, I am the chief of the, let me go. When Indra goes and looks, he cannot see the yaksha. Yaksha has disappeared. They are confused. You know why yaksha has disappeared? Because the senses, the 5 indriyas, cannot find the supreme reality. And he is the king of all the senses. The senses cannot touch it, it is beyond the senses. So he doesn't see the yaksha. He comes back confused. I don't know what this is. Presence, but I can't see it. So then, as happens in the Upanishad, from the abstract, suddenly there is a concrete manifestation. The great, beautiful Parvati, daughter of Himavan, appears. Extremely beautiful. The gods are all attracted to her. She says, fools. She doesn't use the word fool. She says, fools. You were trying to challenge the source of your energy. You are powerful because of that Supreme Being. How can you challenge that Supreme Being because of who? You have all the powers that you have. So, humility, not movement but silence, not running towards it but quietness. These are the essential qualities required to touch that reality. So, it is unmoving, swifter than the mind, The senses cannot reach it. Why? Because it is ever ahead of them. Okay. Yogically, or from the Sankhya point of view, when I see an object, I can see the object and recognize it only when the Atman is present. Otherwise, my eyes may be open, I will not register it. It is the consciousness that makes me conscious of it, although I have all the instruments of perception. Even if all the instruments of perception are open, I cannot understand if the conscious is not there to grasp it. So therefore, the senses cannot reach it, and therefore it is always ahead of the senses. Even before, now it is biologically, neurologically also known, I don't see any neurologists, I hope they question me, that before you say, you take a decision, half a second before the brain has already decided. The Upanishad is saying that it is ever ahead of them. That means even before the brain has decided, it has decided. The brain just gets a message from there. So we like to think that we are living this world, we are doing everything, we are deciding. No, we think so. It's nice to think so. Then another sentence to show the contradiction between the two. What is that? Tad dhavato anyan ateti. Though itself standing still, it outstrips all who run. It's always still. But since it's all pervading, if you're trying to run from here to there, it is already there because it is everywhere. So perhaps when the mind contemplates on these matters which are described, there's only way to describe it, through contradictions. Then perhaps it becomes quiet. That quietness is called letting go. Letting go of the thought process. Understanding that this thought process is not taking us anywhere. Yeah, you need thought process to make a cup of tea and drink. That's a different story. From the ultimate point of view, this thought process is not taking us anywhere. It is beyond thought, ordinary thought. And therefore, the description is it's standing still, and yet it outstrips those who are running. And in it, tasmin apo matarishva dadhati. In this, all-pervading air supports the activities of all beings. All beings, though they cannot find it through action, their actions happen because of this all-pervading being. Without that, no action is possible. So, can we think of this for a minute before we go to the next sloka quietly? Shall I move? Because the next sloka, number 5, you have only 18 sloka, don't worry. The 5th sloka also describes the same thing in contradictory sentences to prove that what we are talking is not a material object, but it is beyond. Not which the mind can grasp, but which is beyond the mind. That which the brain cannot cerebrate upon except as a theory. When the brain becomes still, then perhaps the inner mind takes over. It's not easy. The brain, the brain, I'm saying brain because some people don't like the word mind. When the brain has no contradictions, when the brain is not caught by pleasure or pain, when the brain is satisfied in itself and is not under any tension, when the brain is not contradicting itself. Such a brain is a quiet, absolutely tranquil brain. Only when this happens, one finds the reality. Theoretically, one has to think about it and take steps by which this can happen. So, the next sloka again describes, the fifth sloka, sentences which contradict each other because we are talking about something absolute and not relative. So the fifth sloka says, Tadde jati tanne jati tad dure tad vadantike tad antarasya sarvasya tadu sarvasyasya bahyata. Now this cannot be a physical object, definitely. Why? Tadde jati tanne jati. It moves, but it moves not. Are they trying to confuse us? The rishis have no other job. Why are they trying to confuse? Tadde jati tanne jati. It moves and it does not. Tad dure tadvat antike. It is far and it is so near. It's funny. You can't have people like that. One day in Madanapalli, one day in Bengaluru, one day in Chennai. Tad dure tad, not possible. It has to be something which is all pervading. Some people are sniggering because they went to Chennai and came back. So either you are here or you are not here, you are there. Here is something which is everywhere. Why? Ishavasya Upanishad sarvam. Go back to the first sentence. So it moves and it moves not. It is far and it is so near. Somebody said, it is nearer to you than your own neck vein. And then, tad antarasya sarvasya. It is inside, within all this. Sadhu sarvasyasya bahyata. And yet, it is outside all this. In fact, there is the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which in some way goes into this. It talks about the Kshetrajna and the Kshetra. Kshetrajna is the field of activity. Kshetra is the field of activity, and Kshetrajna is the one who controls his activity from inside, which may not be part of the Kshetra. Kshetra we normally use for temple, Kshetra. Kshetra actually means a field, F-I-E-L-D. A field where many forces work together is called a Kshetra. Now for a Kshetra there is a Kshetrajna. You have a magnetic field, right? How can you have a magnetic field without a magnet? That magnet is the Kshetrajna. So that inner reality, which moves and also does not move. It's far and it is near. It is within all this and it is outside all this. So if you even for a second allow your mind to dwell on this idea, there is supreme rest. You're not reaching out. You're not complaining. You're not carrying images. You're just staying where you are without movement. Because you know the movement is useless, because however far you run, it can overtake you. So what do you do? Stay. We will come to another sloka here, which talks about that. Now the sixth sloka is crucial. We will start the sixth sloka tomorrow. Okay? I started 10 minutes before 6. So it is 7. 1 hour is the daily business. Believe me, more than 1 hour on these matters, the mind cannot stay. Let me tell you, honestly. So I unnecessarily talk. So tomorrow when we come, please remember, you need not remember the Sanskrit slokas, but remember the ideas which we discussed today when you come back tomorrow, so that we can connect with the sixth sloka. And let me read the sixth sloka and stop. The sixth sloka, yastu sarvani bhutani atmani ivanupashyati sarva bhuteshu cha atmanam tatho na vichugupsate. Which means, he who sees all beings in his own self and his own self in all beings, he does not feel any revulsion to anything by reason of such a view. So this we will discuss, what it means. It's not only an theoretical thing, it's also a very, very practical thing. I'll just give you a hint. If I see that you are my own self, I will not cause harm to you. Simple. We will discuss that elaborately as we come tomorrow. So out of 18, we have done 5. How many are left? My arithmetic is bad. 13, very good number. So tomorrow we'll start with 6 and go close to the 18th, because last day I want to do less so we can have a dialogue. Is that okay? Even if you say no, I'm going. So thank you very much. Dhanyavad, namaskara. Wait. Om Shanti, 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 Hari Om Tat Sat.
ಮನಸಾರಿ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಒನ್ಸ್ ಅಗೇನ್ ಐ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್, ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಪ್ರಣಾಮ್ ಯಾರು ಮಾಡಬೇಡಿ. ಮತ್ತು ಶ್ರೇಯಮ್ ಅವರು ಹೋಗೋ ತನಕ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಇಲ್ಲೇರಿ, ಅವ್ರು ಹೋಗೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡಿ. ನಾಳೆ ಸಾಯಂಕಾಲ 6 ಗಂಟೆಗೆ ಭೇಟಿಯಾಗೋಣ. ಮತ್ತು 5:45 ಅಷ್ಟೊತ್ತಿಗೆ ಬಂದು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಆಸನದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. 6 ಗಂಟೆಗೆ ಶುರು. ಶುಭರಾತ್ರಿ.
Thank you.